Commander Kale had built the stellar diner from nothing. A humble establishment orbiting Proxima Station, it had become the most beloved restaurant in the sector. Thousands of beings from 100 different species came here. But Kale's management style was legendary for all the wrong reasons. He demanded maximum efficiency, minimum waste, profits over everything. His employees worked 14-hour shifts for minimal pay. He'd recently cut the food budget by 30% to increase shareholder returns. The quality of meals had suffered. Customer satisfaction was declining. But the numbers looked good on paper. Today, Kale arrived in disguise, a cloaking device that made him appear as a nondescript Keltorian tourist. He wanted to see how his diner operated when he wasn't watching. He wanted to understand why profits were rising while customer reviews were plummeting. He sat at the counter and ordered toast. Simple toast, the most basic item on the menu. A test. The human server, a young man named Thomas, prepared the order. Kale watched carefully. Thomas grabbed bread that was slightly stale, the cheap kind Kale had ordered to cut costs. He placed it in the toaster without care, removed it when it was barely warm, slapped it on a plate with a single pat of margarine. It was a pathetic excuse for toast. Thomas placed it before the disguised commander without apology or attention. Kale was about to demand a refund when something extraordinary happened. A whisper came from behind the counter. Wait! A figure emerged, an elderly human woman, weathered and gray, moving with the slow grace of age. She was Maria, the original owner of the diner, now relegated to washing dishes because Kale had deemed her past her prime. She'd worked here for 40 years before selling to Kale. He'd kept her on at minimum wage out of obligation, not kindness. Maria gently took the plate from Thomas. "Forgive us," she said to the customer. "That wasn't acceptable." She moved to the kitchen with surprising purpose. Kale watched in confusion as she selected fresh bread from the back. The good bread, the kind that cost more. She toasted it with careful attention, monitoring the color and texture. She warmed real butter until it gleamed golden. She added a touch of sea salt, a whisper of honey. When she placed the new toast before him, it was transformed. It was no longer a bare necessity. It was an experience. "This is what toast should be," Maria said softly, and Kale heard something in her voice, a quiet dignity, a professional pride that management had tried to strip away. He took a bite. The contrast was startling. The good bread, the real butter, the subtle sweetness. It tasted like care. It tasted like someone had bothered to do the work properly. "Why did you do that?" Kale asked, his voice unsteady. Maria looked at him, really looked at him, with eyes that seemed to see through his disguise. "Because every customer deserves to be treated like they matter. Because doing things right matters, even when no one's watching. Especially when no one's watching." She paused, her weathered hand resting on the counter. "Your current boss doesn't understand that. He thinks profit is everything. But I worked here for 40 years before he arrived. You know what made this place legendary? It wasn't efficiency. It wasn't minimum costs. It was love. Every meal was prepared like we were feeding family." Thomas, the young server, nodded quietly. "Maria taught me that. But the new boss, he says we don't have time for that. He says quality doesn't matter if the numbers are good." Kale felt something crack inside his chest. Maria continued, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm an old woman now. I'll retire soon. But I worry about this place. I worry about what happens when people like me, people who remember why we love this work, are all gone. When there's no one left to whisper wait when someone's about to serve something mediocre." The disguise suddenly felt suffocating. Kale removed it, revealing his true identity. The diner fell silent. Thomas's face went pale. Maria simply smiled, not a smile of fear, but of recognition. "I knew it was you," she said. "Not because of the disguise, because only you would test us this way." Over the following weeks, everything changed. Kale restored the original food budget. He raised wages. He stopped measuring success by profit margins alone and started measuring it by the light in his employees' eyes when they prepared meals. The toast became famous across the sector, not because it was elaborate, but because it was perfect, because it was made with the understanding that every customer, every meal, every moment mattered. Commander Kale learned that day what Maria had known all along. The difference between a business that makes money and a legacy that changes lives is one simple thing: the willingness to whisper, wait, and do things right, even when no one important is watching. Because humans, Maria had taught him, understand something the galaxy often forgets: that excellence in small things is the truest form of rebellion against mediocrity.